Welcome back. This is our third and final block. We're talking with Dwight Colley, who's chair of Fire District 3, and Chief Noel Monin, who is the chief of the San Juan Island Fire and Rescue Department. Are you a department? What do you call it? You're the fire
We're a fire
right?
district. It's a district, yeah.
Okay. So you told me when I covered the DNR event a couple months ago, I learned of at the time you were discussing this, I don't think it had been decided yet to do a levy. Is it a levy lid lift? Like
Yeah, so
similar to what the library just did?
so disclaimer real quick, as chief of the fire department, I don't advocate for or against the levy.
And you didn't?
I can provide any factual information that the public would want. So
Right.
to answer your question, the fire commissioners have put forth a resolution for Proposition 1, which is a levy increase from its current state. And it can be called a levy correction or a levy increase, but essentially it's what they're asking is the public to vote on whether or not to increase the fire district's current levy.
When's the last time you had a levy adjustment, correction, whatever?
I dug into this one for data, and having spoke with the assessor's office and the elections office, the only recorded vote on a levy for Fire District 3 was in 1963,
Okay,
61 years ago.
That just blows me away.
61 years ago. So
Yeah.
the department has made due
Yeah.
for 60 years.
At that time, in 1963, the fire commissioners wanted to raise $2,000 for the next year, for 1964, and that ended up being $1.42 per thousand as a levy against the taxpayers. And they ended up raising a little more. I think it ended up raising $2,010 that year.
A little different now. Things are a little different. Dwight, how much is how can we quantify the impact of the levy lift in either percentage or dollars? How much money do you hope that this?
Well, we're looking for 70 cents. And because what has happened, and it's happened throughout the government, of course, but fire service is not cheap. You look at the price of, we've got 6 fire trucks, and they're getting old. And you start even thinking about looking at a new fire truck, and you're looking at $300,000 to $1 million, depending on what you're getting. And so this fire service is not cheap. And inflation has eaten us alive. I mean, as you are aware, I'm sure there's a cap of 1% that we're allowed to raise every year. Well, that's been going on for years, and inflation is going up, and up, and has just absolutely drained us. And it has nothing to do with how they're spending the money, inappropriately or anything, but there are needs. I mean, you buy here in the marine environment, you can't survive without a fireboat. That's $500,000 we paid for that. And that was not the most expensive one we could find. But so what has happened with inflation, the aging of our equipment, the building the main fire station needs some work, like it needs a new sprinkler system. And you're talking a great deal of money just for that. And so we decided, the commission, decided now is the time, because it's not going to get any better. And when we looked at the numbers, and I walked away talking to myself the first time we looked at the numbers going into next year's budget, money we had left over. it was $1,700.
So the reserve is gone.
Yeah, and you can't do that.
No.
So the chief sat down and reconfigured it, did whatever he needed to do, magic he needed to perform on the operations side and the personnel side, which he is responsible for. And now that number is, not there anymore. We're much better shape. We're good for next year, but not after that. Because it costs that much to run the agency. And without the lift, as he's already mentioned, we're going to have to take some personnel changes and go back to not having 24/7 coverage. And I hope the community understands that. Because right now, it's 24/7. It was before my day, people came in. And when it comes to fire, the little I know, time is the most critical factor. Was it fire doubles every minute?
Yeah.
So, we want to keep the station manned. It takes 90 seconds to get a fire truck out of that station with a crew. And that's what we want to keep it.
So to spell it out for people, not having that 24/7 coverage means a delay period if they're
Yes.
having a fire.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Because we're going to have to because there are other fire stations throughout the island, there's no question, and there's equipment in each one of those stations, but people have to come from their homes, get out of bed.
yeah, at
come
that
from-
point, you have defaulted to a volunteer
That's correct.
service. And,
Right.
the communities I covered, as I mentioned before, in Missouri, were all volunteer. The nearest one was 30 miles in a much bigger town. So that volunteer is the norm in these smaller communities, about the size here. And because I carried that pager, I learned of the fire at the same time that they did. But I had the luxury of hopping in our news van and going straight to the fire. It was really uncomfortable when I beat the fire department to a major structure fire. It's like, what should I'm supposed to do something. But
It's like being a chief.
yeah, but
Get there before the crew.
while I was on my way, all the other firefighters were on their way to a different place. They were on their way to the firehouse.
Yep.
And then
they
they
have
got
to
to the
suit up.
firehouse,
Yep.
start up the truck,
Yep.
get their suits on. And then, so it was like a triangle compared to my direct shot. If I was a firefighter on duty, I would have gone, straight to that place. But when you depend on a volunteer situation like that, you can count on that not even being double, but more than double the time that it would have taken, that it took me to go straight to that thing. That's really bad. That would be a really bad outcome. I would assume that would be unacceptable to a lot of people if they knew. How much of the time would be defaulting to this? What would that mean?
So
To lose
before we
24/7.
went to 24/7 shift crew model, which is a staffed fire station, our reaction time, it's called the reaction time. So from the time of the pager going off, the alarm from dispatch, to the time that the wheels on the fire engine are turning.
Yeah,
Our reaction time was right around 8.5 minutes.
yeah,
With a staffed station, the benchmark is 90 seconds.
yeah.
So you save, and the commissioner mentioned, fire grows at double size every minute. So, that 8 minutes versus 90 seconds makes a big difference in the incipient phase of a fire and its growth.
So I'm just curious how it works here. So let's say that there's a situation now with the 24/7 coverage. The page staff will move the equipment to the fire Do the volunteers go, do they meet them at the fire? Do the
Yeah.
volunteers also go to
They
firehouses?
both,
Okay.
yeah, depending on
So
assignment.
some of the volunteers
Yeah.
can go
Well,
straight to the fire?
To your point, how difficult it was for you to get on scene before the fire department. Imagine the volunteer firefighters driving past the fire to go get the fire truck.
Well, that happened, yeah.
That's tough,
That's what
right?
it's like when you don't have
It's really tough,
24/7.
and when you're committed to that, it's a really tough.
How
thing
many
to do.
days or how many days a week would we conceivably be losing 24/7 coverage? Would it be at the night, in the nighttime?
Yeah, it would be basically, we would go to a 40-hour work week, and that's what we ran that for years. And I want to be sure to emphasize that the volunteer program is essential. It is
Oh, yeah.
absolutely critical
Sure.
to this
Yeah.
model.
Yeah.
We rely on the volunteers. It's simply a matter of economy of scale. We would never be a big city,
No.
full-staffed agency. We absolutely rely on
Well,
volunteers.
four firefighters not going to put out a structure fire. so
No,
that's,
no,
it's
they're
in-
going to get a good start,
Yeah.
but you need the whole team to back it up, and
Right,
that's, like I
right.
said, between 15 and 20 people to really get a good handle on
So are you
things.
saying if you went away from 24/7, that there could be 7 days a week where there wasn't a shift on in the evening?
Yeah, it would be volunteer only. It would be volunteer
Okay.
only, yeah. So, and we did that for many decades. That's how we ran the agency. The one position that we do provide that's 24/7, 365 is a duty officer.
Sure.
And that's covered by myself and 3 others who take turns rotating that position because it's a 7-day assignment, and we like to take breaks in between. So,
Dwight, does the public, do you think, know that the 24/7 coverage is at risk in the future?
I don't think they know it out yet.
They will now.
Yes, because they're used to it, and this is what they see, and they know that's what's out there. And that's the purpose of us educating them as to this is what it's going to look like if we do not get some additional funding. And granted, nobody likes to, cough up the additional funding, but there are 3 things that you can't do without in a community. You can't do without law enforcement, you can't do without EMS, and you can't do without fire. The rest are luxuries, you might say, and I don't mean that in a bad sense, but you're not going to get killed if the library doesn't get its funding, which it did. So whereas you're in deep trouble if the other 3 agencies are not well functioning.
Well, I want to say that my observation is that you're not, a hair on fire. What a terrible choice of words, but you don't seem like a sensationalist. You seem like a very reasoned person who is simply stating some facts.
And I think
Very alarming.
once the facts are out there, or I'm hoping that once the facts are out there, for putting articles in your paper of it, I've got 3 written already. I've said they're ready to go through outlets like this. To just the chief and I have spoken at the Rotary and at Kiwanis, letting people know what the situation is. The community will respond because they know what's good for them.
Yeah.
And they know from history that they haven't been ripped off by the fire service.
Right.
Nobody has done that, nor any of the other emergency agencies in this community. I want to emphasize that. But it's just that this is the price it's going to cost you to stay safe.
Do you anticipate opposition?
I haven't heard any.
Okay, well, we're not saying that there shouldn't be. There isn't so far, but there may be, and we are trying to be neutral.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to give you a chance. If anybody would like to, oh, there's my camera. If anyone would like to come in and oppose this, come on in. We'll give you airtime and you can explain why this is a bad idea. So, but, well, anyway, is there anything else you want to talk about the levy vote on November 5th? Are you going to be holding public meetings and forums and stuff like that?
Yes, we will be, and it's strictly educational. We're
Right.
not, we're pushing it, there's no question about
Yeah.
that. But I just want the community to understand the facts.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's cause and effect. If-
Right, I have-
The
you
cause
know-
being, if the levy doesn't pass, this is what you can expect.
Yeah.
And I think that you're doing a service by disclosing that now, as opposed to,
well, that's what we want to do between now and, then, shouldn't
Yeah.
we? So hopefully the community will respond.
that's Dwight Colley. He's chair of Fire District 3, and Chief Noel Monin, who is San Juan Island Fire and Rescue Chief. Thanks so much for sharing all this. I think it's very helpful to know all this. And this sounds like an important election, whatever you decide. And if you decide that this isn't worth your support, at least you understand the choice now. I think the choice is pretty clear. Thank you very much, both of you. I'm going to just take 2 minutes to tell you that we're changing the name of this to SanJuans.Today. That's SanJuans.Today. It's not .com, but I think we'll go ahead and get the .com as well. This is a change that our board wanted to do. It apparently resonates with people when they hear this. San Juans Today is both about a place, the San Juans, the entire county, and it's also about a time, which is today, right now. You're looking at this live. So we will start the long process of the name change. I can tell you that nothing else will change by virtue of this name change. It's just a way that maybe will be a little more memorable and understandable for people. CNL2 on its way out. CNL2 was called that because there was a CNL1. That was County News Live in Missouri. We've actually talked about it several times today. And it was a big success for 6 years in rural Missouri. And a lot of the things that happened in that 6 years are happening here too. So we're very optimistic. So thank you to the board for guiding me to a new name. You'll see the new logo start to appear on the site today. I think it probably started at 1 o'clock. It was supposed to start appearing on the site. So thank you. This has been a really good show. I've learned a lot. And we now understand the choice that will be before us in just, 2-3 months. So coming up, but there'll be many more opportunities to learn more about the levy lid lift. Is it?
Yes.
Levy lid lift. Thank you, Heather, for joining us.
Of course.
And you have a good day, San Juans. This is Jeff Noedel for San Juans Today.
See you guys next week.